lovely people, and welcome back to this week's new video. As you can tell, I have an end of summer book haul. I can't promise that this is going to... These are the only books that I will have by the end of the summer or whatever's left of August. But here we are. I have 15 books, 2 of them being arcs, and I have them broken up by genre. If you hear a whining dog, you do hear that, and I'm really sorry. This is Elvis. I'm dog sitting for him this week, and 2 people in a row just left, so he's pretty sad. I can't usually tell if he's just sad or if he wants to go out too. I promise I will be taking him on a short little walk after I finish filming. Even though we took a really long walk this morning, didn't we? Be good, okay? But since nobody's in the house, I needed to take this opportunity to film. If you're new here, hello, my name is Noah. I'm a bookish and lifestyle vlogger born and raised and still based in New York City. If that sounds like of any interest to you, I would absolutely love it if you would stick around and subscribe at the end if you so please. I'm trying not to buy too many books this year, especially since I have a new TBR shelf this year and I really just do not have any more space on my actual bookshelf. So I really am just utilizing all the space that I can in my room. I can't wait to get some new bookshelves. When that will be, I do not know. But for now, let's talk about the 15 new books that I have. Let's start off with the arcs. The first one that I have has actually already come out. This is an advanced uncorrected proofs that I found. It's What Comes After by Joanne Tompkins. It already came out in April, and I was pretty excited to find this because I have seen this cover around. I feel like it was on my TBR, so I just took it just to be safe. And I also don't know who in my neighborhood is getting arcs, which is like pretty awesome. It doesn't actually have a synopsis of what it's about because, you know, it's an arc. I also like didn't do my research at all for this video. I felt like I should just go on a whim with this and kind of go with the flow, so bear with me here. This is a mystery thriller, aka my favorite genre. It takes place in a community in the Pacific Northwest. After the shocking death of 2 teenage boys tears apart this community, a mysterious pregnant girl emerges out of the woods and into the lives of those same boys' families. That sounds kind of sus. Does it mean that she's like been impregnated by those 2 murdered boys, and what happened to those people? It's a deeply moving account of strangers and friends not only helping each other forward after tragedy, but inspiring a new kind of family. Okay, seems cool. Also, it was just an arc, so I feel like that was an appeal in itself. Another arc that was sent to me actually that I had no idea was coming. It is Mouth to Mouth by Antoine Wilson, which is coming out in January. This book also had like a complicated explanation, but I think this whole thing just takes place in a first-class lounge bar at JFK Airport. It says that our narrator listens to Jeff Cook, who is a former classmate who he like barely remembers, about his experience resuscitating a drowning man. It's relatively short, to be honest. Didn't really know what it was about, but I figured that I could just request it and see if that's something that I'm interested in doing, because I've never been interested in requesting too many arcs. I mean, I thought that would be cool, but I never thought that like it would be something that I would do. So far, I'm not doing a great job in this haul, but it is what it is. So I have one nonfiction book. A new friend actually recommended it. I had heard about it and I figured I saw it at the bookstore, why not get it? This is She Said, Breaking the Sexual Harassment Story That Helped Ignite a Movement by Jodie Kantor and Meghan Twohey. One of the authors is my new friend's neighbor, and so she decided to pick it up and she was telling us about it, and I thought that definitely sounds really cool. I'm also trying to read more nonfiction this year. Kantor and Twohey are 2 Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, and they are investigating the Harvey Weinstein case and the #MeToo movement. They're just trying to get down to the truth of what actually happened. They conducted months of confidential interviews with actresses, former employees, and other sources to get down to the truth of these allegations. First of all, that sounds relatively exciting. It's like a mystery in real life. I think this is a really also important read. I figured that it would be awesome to own it because it's also going to be turned into a movie. The next book is the one graphic novel that I picked up. I never thought that I would really purchase graphic novels, but this one felt like pretty important to me. Also smells amazing. This is Displacement by Kiku Hughes. This is magical realism, which is also new. If you haven't watched any of my videos, I do have a difficult time with magical realism and trying to just wrap my head around that world and thinking that there would be magic in a world that looks very much like my own as opposed to a fantasy. This is following Kiku, who is on vacation in present-day San Francisco, and she suddenly just finds herself displaced into an internment camp in the 1940s as a Japanese American, where her late grandmother was forcibly relocated during World War II. She's stuck and she needs to survive and figure out what's happening, and she just happens to like witness this terrible intergenerational trauma. I myself am Japanese American. I've talked a lot about that this year, especially with the Asian hate crimes going on. As a first-generation Japanese American, I felt it important to look into the history and see for myself what my history has been like in this country, and to read up on Own Voices stories such as this one. I read her author's note while browsing through this at the bookstore. She actually took her family's story, she listened to her family members about experiences. I felt that if it's rooted in that sort of real history of this real life person, that it would be just that much more meaningful. I have 2 adult romances, both of which that I have read already. The first one is While We Were Dating by Jasmine Guillory. I did a vlog on this and I gave it 4 stars. This is the 6th or 7th book in the Wedding Date series. This is following Ben and Anna. So if you've read this series, Ben is the brother of Theo, who was the main character in The Wedding Party. Ben is working for an ad agency and Anna is a Oscar nominee or Oscar winner. She is going to be the spokesperson for this ad. They're working together, they're flirting, and they think it's really casual, you know, whatever, until Ben ends up helping out Anna with a family emergency and they start to hook up, and it's whether or not as a celebrity things are going to work out being in the public eye. It's sort of a fake dating issue turned into a romance. The next one that I also read in my last vlog, I think, is Undercover Bromance by Lyssa K. Adams. This is the 2nd book in the Bromance book club series. I also gave this 4 stars. This one is following Liv and Mac, Liv being Thea from the first book sister, and Mac, who is also in the Bromance book club. There is a sort of mystery aspect to this, so trigger warnings for sexual assault and harassment. It's sort of hate to love. Dang, Elvis is still at it with the whining. The next ones are YA contemporaries, and I found this one in my little free library. I have read it before, I borrowed it at the library, but it's the collector's edition, so how could I not pick it up? This is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is YA, so she's 16 years old, and she lives in a poor black neighborhood, it says, but she attends this suburban private school. She feels that she has like these 2 identities. She witnesses the shooting, the death of her childhood best friend, and he was shot by the police. It is all over the news, of course, and he's being portrayed as a drug dealer, a thug, a gangbanger, and she knows the truth that that's not who he is, but people are saying different things at her rich uppity school. She just feels like she doesn't know how to act. She doesn't know where she lies because she has a hand in both pots, is that the saying? This is shining a light on issues of racism, police violence. It's a very important story, and it's written very, very well. So I hope that you pick it up if you haven't already. I feel like this has been everywhere. It was a movie, which I have not yet seen, and I really like this trilogy. Well, I can't really say that because I didn't read the last book, but I do really like Angie Thomas's writing. Next up is by another author that I really enjoy. This is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahereh Mafi. I've only read her Shatter Me series, and I've always been interested in reading more of her contemporaries because she does have a few out. This is following a Muslim family in America several months after the US has officially declared war on Iraq. In America, where tensions are high and the FBI is profiling and targeting anyone in the Muslim community, and they're all being harassed. An Emotion of Great Delight is a searing look into the world of a single Muslim family in the wake of 9/11. It's about a child of immigrants forging a blurry identity, falling in love, and finding hope in the midst of a modern war. It isn't too long, but I'm sure it'll pack quite the punch. I lived through 9/11, remember having like moments of silence in school for it. 9/11 is definitely a day that holds a lot of significance in my life. It should be interesting to read this in the perspective of an actual Muslim person to see how much racism has affected the community and how it still has. I have 3 mystery thrillers. The first one I read in my last vlog as well, and this is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I'm a little bit upset because I own 2 of his books, through Book of the Month, and I borrowed his first 2 books from the library, and now I just have this random hardcover, so everything will be scattered. This is Riley Sager's 5th book. He's an auto-buy author for me, even though this book was 3 stars, not my favorite of his. It was still a sort of enjoyable time. This is following Charlie, and she is headed home from her college campus because her best friend has been murdered and she just cannot bear to be at school anymore. She catches a ride with Josh. Yep, Josh. And Josh is kind of turning out to be really suspect, and she doesn't know that she can trust him. She thinks that he might be the campus killer, so she needs to figure out a way to survive the night. Next up, I bought The Plot by Jeanne, Hanff, Korelitz, and I bought this because this is Jimmy Fallon's book club, summer book club pick, which doesn't really matter to me, but this has been a book that was on my radar, and the way that he marketed it seemed really interesting. It just so happens that he will also be reading it, so if that matters to anyone, you have the rest of August to read it. This is following Jacob. It says he was once a promising young novelist with a respectably published first book, but now he is teaching a third-rate MFA program. He hasn't written anything good in a few years, so when he has one student, he calls him an arrogant student, Evan Parker, he ends up writing this really amazing thing, and when he dies, Jacob takes his story and publishes it as his own, and he's very, very successful. It's praised and read all over the world. He's feeling amazing, you know. He is back to that glory of this amazing author that he once was, until one day he gets this email saying, like, I know what you did. That sounds really creepy, a little bit Pretty Little Liars vibes, if you know what I mean. That just already sounds like a really great mystery. I should probably get to it pretty soon. My last mystery is also an author that I really love. I have read all of her books, and I am a fake fucking fan apparently, because I had no idea that she was publishing a new book. This is Tana French's The Searcher. I've read all her books via the library, so this is actually my first book that I have from her. I once purchased a book and had to return it because when it was delivered via Amazon when I still used them, it was a fucking Book of the Month edition, and I was offended.
Clearly I'm a user of Book of the Month, so this isn't any offense to Book of the Month. I just meant that I didn't need to be tricked into getting that edition because they didn't list it as that, and if I wanted a Book of the Month edition, I would have just purchased it right off of their website instead.
She's gone, and I will create my own library of Tana French's books. She is an Irish author, or she's American living in Dublin. I actually have no idea what this one is about either because I didn't fucking know it existed, but I knew when I saw her name in the bookstore I had to buy it. I feel like she's pretty underrated. I haven't seen many people read her or at all. So if you like mystery thrillers and crimes, I know some people don't like books take with the perspective of the police, which her books sometimes mostly do. This is for you. Cal Hooper thought a fixer-upper in a remote Irish village would be the perfect escape. After 25 years in the Chicago police force and bruising divorce, he just wants to build a new life in a pretty spot with a good pub where nothing much happens. But then a local kid comes looking for his help. Trey Reddy's brother has gone missing, and no one, least of all the police, seems to care. Cal wants nothing to do with any kind of investigation, but somehow he can't make himself walk away. Against his will, he discovers that even in the most idyllic small town, secrets lie hidden. People aren't always what they seem, and trouble can come calling at his door. That's funny because I feel like small towns always have hidden secrets. I feel like there's not a place in this world that doesn't have any of that. I am freaking excited for this because, like I said, I have read all of her books. Maybe this is not a good idea. I was a little bit on the fence about buying it when I went to Books Are Magic with my friend Samantha for the first time in my last vlog, actually. She was like, it's been on your TBR for such a long time, I say get it. So here we are. This is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafon. I originally had this on my TBR because Witty Novels, Miss Whitney, TBT, read this and gave it 5 stars, and I saw my friend Sato on Goodreads also read this a while back and she gave it 5 stars. Gabby, who I always have the same thoughts with, gave this 4 stars, so that's pretty promising. This takes place in 1945 Barcelona. Daniel is an antiquarian book dealer's son. He finds a book titled The Shadow of the Wind. He realizes that someone has been destroying every single copy of that one book that he has found and treasured. Daniel might possibly have the last book that exist. Soon, Daniel's seemingly innocent quest opens a door into one of Barcelona's darkest secrets, an epic story of murder, madness, and doomed love. I think he's trying to find the author's other books, and that's why he realizes it. I do love a good historical fiction. I haven't been reading too many of them over the years, but I feel like those are my roots, so I felt like, you know, it was time. And so here she is. And then I've got 2 fantasy books, and my last book is a horror. My fantasy books are actually sequels. The first one is Jade War by Fonda Lee in the Jade City series trilogy. Here we go. Here they are. It's called the Green Bone Saga. Clearly I'm a newbie. I read Jade City when I read Mina's favorite books for a video. It was 3 stars, but that's like very normal for fantasy if you're new here. I was intrigued enough to want to continue with the series. The next book, the last book, Jade Legacy, is coming out this year, so I definitely want to be caught up for that. She's a bit of a chunky girl, so hopefully it shouldn't... I mean, I read pretty quickly, but she's almost 600 pages, which isn't awful. I don't know how much I can say. This is a fantasy, and Jade City was following greenbone warriors who use jade to enhance their abilities. This one family that is the main family, the Call family, ends up in a violent feud for the second one. It's like the continuation of that. That was a really bad explanation. I'm really sorry, but this is the sequel, so I feel like I can't reveal too much. Next up is The Dragon Republic, which is the second book to The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. The Poppy War definitely surprised me. I gave that fantasy a 4-star, which I don't usually do. It wasn't anything that I like connected really well with Rin or anything, but just the world building. I was just amazed and impressed by how much I was into it. Rin, in the first book at least, is poor. She was like adopted or something, and she studies as hard as she can to get into the school, into the country's exclusive military school, and she gets in, and she has like the best fucking grades, which is amazing because usually the highest grades goes to the rich kids who can pay for tutors and to study and all those things, and she didn't need to do any of that. She becomes amazing. She becomes this warrior. The country ends up going to war, and that is when Rin realizes that she actually might have the power to communicate with gods or spirits. So I don't actually know what the second book is about. I believe it's just going to be a continuation of the war and her commitment to save her people. It's a sequel, so again, I don't want to say too much, but this is a trilogy as well, and I just wanted to be caught up. And long overdue, because I feel like a lot of people have read and enjoyed The Poppy War, and I have to fucking agree. The last book that I have is a book that came out this year, and I have only seen good things about it actually. It's a horror book, which is a genre that I am very new to. Thanks to Gabby, she turned me on to them. The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. I also got this at Books Are Magic. I went for the first time, and it's a signed edition. So that's pretty awesome. That looks like some legit Sharpie signature. Can we all see that? Hello. Yes, thank you very much. Gabby loved this. She said that she didn't really like his second book, but you know, it's promising, which I fucking hope so, because this book is also a little over 500 pages, so love that for me. Nathan used to live in a house in the country with his abusive father. I guess nobody knew about it. Also long ago, Maddie was a little girl making dolls in her bedroom when she saw something she shouldn't have, and is trying to remember that lost trauma by making haunting sculptures. Long ago, something sinister, something hungry walked in the tunnels and the mountains and the coal mines of rural Pennsylvania. Now Nathan and Maddie are married, and they have moved back to their hometown with their son Oliver. And now what happened long ago is happening again, and it's happening to Oliver. He meets a strange boy who becomes his best friend, a boy with secrets of his own and a taste for dark magic. This is giving me imaginary friend vibes, which I hope that I like. I hope I like this more than that. This is also giving me the Whisper Man vibes, which I also hope that I enjoy more than that. I think I gave both books 3 stars. Like I said, I've only heard promising things, and this is a 500-page chunky ass book, signed copy, so I fucking hope it's good. I still have books from my other haul that I have not read yet, like Tokyo Ever After and Midnight Library and all of those, which I want to soon. I'm doing a secret TBR video. After that's over, I think that I can get into them, although I should probably get to my Book of the Month books first. I got Not a Happy Family by Shari LaPena. This is my first book by her. I've heard a lot about her, and I know people really enjoy her books. This is taking place in New York, upstate New York, York in an expensive neighborhood. Fred and Sheila Merton are rich enough and they have money, but even all their money can't protect them when a killer comes to call. They're murdered after Easter dinner with their 3 adult children. Of course, you would think that the children are devastated, except that they stand to inherit millions of dollars if their parents die. They were never a happy family thanks to their vindictive father and neglectful mother, but perhaps one of the siblings is more disturbed than anyone knew. Oh, that sounds so sinister. Right up my alley again. I feel like I'm always picking mystery thrillers with my book of the month choices because that's what I love. I do definitely want to get to this while it's still August. I've done a pretty great job with my book of the month. Stack of Shame is actually only like 3 books right now. And then I picked an add-on because it is my birthday month, and so I got a free book. I got Rogue of One's Own, which is in the series A League of Extraordinary Women by Evie Dunmore, because I got the first book through book of the month as well. Really liked it. Saw that this was a series, or it was going to be. Saw it at Barnes & Noble, but I wanted it to look as a set because it's book of the month, which is the thing that sucks about getting book of the month books if it's going to be a series. But I figured if it's free, why not get it? I love a good adult romance. These were like an unofficial part of this haul. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you're interested in any of these books or if you've read them and your thoughts about them. Hopefully you do enjoy them. I'm like mostly curious about The Shadows of the Wind, probably, and maybe the plot, because that's interesting. If Jimmy Fallon also turned you on to that, which I doubt because it's a pretty hyped book, I feel like. Hopefully I can feature some of these in a vlog soon, and I will see you all next time. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye.